coming back with more because, like I said, we having fun with this. I'm gonna try to bring some people on because I know the female boxing fan, she wants to make an appearance, so I'm gonna tap in with her and try to get her on here because she put out a video basically demonstrating her frustration with the fact that people are just trying to discredit Terrence Crawford for basically that ass whooping he laid on Errol Spence. And I want to say this to Errol Spence. At the end of the day, Errol, I do apologize to you, but I feel like this has to be done. And this isn't really aimed towards you. This is aimed towards your cult following and your fanboys. And this just has to be done. So I will say I apologize to Errol Spence for this, but I have to do what has to be done. So now the question at hand is, should Derrick James have threw in the towel based off the fact how much punishment Errol Spence was taking? Errol Spence was bleeding very badly. He had been dropped 3 times. And Derrick James kept sending him out there. And he got battered basically the last couple of rounds. And basically, it was a humiliating loss for Errol Spence. So, the thing that's bothered me, I've seen a whole bunch of excuses and a whole bunch of BS trying to discredit Terrence Crawford. I done heard people accuse him of stacking his gloves, from loading his gloves to just everything, saying that he had the same stuff in his gloves that Tyson Fury possibly had. So now I'm just like flabbergasted. Like, you just can't with these people. And like I said before, it just goes to show you that the black community is at disarray. To sit up there and have this much hatred for somebody because you want to elevate somebody else. Like I said, it's okay. But me, myself, Derrick James, to a certain degree, he has to take a little bit of accountability for this because he should have threw in the towel. And I'm tired of hearing this stuff about going out on your shield and all this kind of stuff. Because I was dying laughing because I saw, a video with the white black man, Right Said Fred making a video talking about he had a vision that Derrick James was going to, that Bomac was going to throw in the towel because Errol Spence was, he had a dream that basically Bomac was going to throw in the towel because Terrence Crawford was taking too much punishment via Errol Spence. Boy, was he wrong. The only vision that you had was the figment of the imagination that you really an important figure. I shouldn't even be giving you this free publicity, Fred, but this is what your goofy ass want because you think that you're more important than you really is. Because like I said, you a snake and you a liar and you a fraud. You know what I'm saying? I really wish you would stop hollering about you a fan of Malcolm X, because Malcolm X wouldn't have tried to sabotage his brothers, his so-called black brothers, like you did when you tried to sabotage me with trainers, when you tried to sabotage me trying to get my credentials took, when you were sitting up there telling boxers not to interview with certain media outlets. You thought it wasn't going to get back to me? You thought it wasn't going to get back to me? You were telling other people not to interview with me. You are a cornball. Yeah, the only vision you had was seeing Errol Spence get the brakes beat off of him. And like I said, I didn't want Errol Spence to get seriously hurt, but Derrick James kept allowing him to go out there. What did Derrick James want to happen to Errol Spence? He wanted to see Errol Spence carried out on the street. Errol Spence was badly battered in that fight. He was battered. He was beaten. He was beat from pillar to post. And Derrick James made it about him. He made it about him. He made it about his ego. Look, at the end of the day, I don't give a damn about these fighters talking about going out on their shield. What does that mean? If you have no chance of winning the fight, it come a time and you getting battered, you bleeding out your mouth, You bleeding out your nose. You bleeding out your ear. You're lumped up. Your eyes are almost swollen shut. And you talking about you want to go out on your shield. At the end of the day, you prize fighting. You live to fight another day. Sometimes you just don't have it in you. But to me, that beating that Errol Spence took, it could come back to haunt him. And they should have called a halt to the fight sooner. Derrick James should have said, after Errol Spence got knocked down at the end of the 7th round and was staggering to get up, Derrick James should have said, you know what? I'm gonna stop the fight. You taking too much punishment. We'll regroup. But no, he made it about him because he had talked all that stuff about Bomac. He had talked all that stuff about Bomac for being overweight and degrading the man, degrading him as a trainer, saying that they hadn't fought nobody, they didn't have no great accomplishments and all this kind of stuff, just degrading him after degradation. All these insinuations, just demeaning them dudes. And then when he saw Errol Spence getting the crap beat out of him, they knew the fight was out of reach. I mean, that fight was. Listen, when you get knocked down 3 times in a fight, and then you lose in pretty much every round except arguably 1 round. I mean, come on. And you think Terrence Crawford, a fighter of his pedigree, is going to make some kind of mistake that's going to put himself in a position to get caught with a big shot? And then, Terrence Crawford don't roll like that. He not going to make that mistake Michael Nunn made versus James Toney. Michael Nunn got too comfortable. And one thing about Terrence Crawford, he gon' fight you in every round like it's the first round. He's not going to get relaxed. And then a lot of people are starting to tell the truth, saying that Terrence Crawford carried Errol Spence, that he probably could have ended that fight in as early as 4 or 5 rounds. And a lot of people starting to admit that. But a lot of people, they hurt by it. They hurt by seeing how bad Errol Spence got whooped because, the media and these fanboys and these cornball pro Errol Spence channels, because like I said, now they got to go somewhere with their heads tucked in the sand. You know what I'm saying? Now they got to, go back and hide behind the rocks they crawled from under, hiding in their man caves or in their basements. Because now they figure out, dang, our guy lost. Our Superman ran into his kryptonite. He ran into a whole planet of kryptonite called Terrence Bud Crawford. And he was right. Once again, Errol Spence was right. He was right about they gonna be smoking on some Bud, because Bud smoked Errol Spence's ass. And he was also right about it was gonna be a one-sided ass whooping. And he received a one-sided ass whooping. And yeah, Derrick James, he did fail miserably. He didn't have no plan B for Terrence Crawford. Didn't make no adjustments. I mean, he made Errol Spence look like an amateur. Terrence Crawford was whooping on Errol Spence so bad, he made it look like it was, for real. It was like, a seasoned veteran fighting somebody, Terrence Crawford beat Errol Spence's ass so bad, he made it look like it was a tune-up fight. And that's what Errol Spence get too. Errol Spence was talking all this junk about, we don't need no tune-ups. And like I said, he opened up a can that his ass couldn't cash. But now you see why that fight was prolonged. Why you think they put up all them roadblocks? And I mean, people, they control all they want here because I'm going to keep coming with this ether. You know, you know, so I'm just saying. Errol Spence's defense was terrible. I mean, his footwork was terrible. I mean, everything. He was like throwing. I mean, he was just punching way out of range. And all Terrence Crawford did was come over the top, take a couple of steps back, and then come over the top. When Errol Spence would lean down, Bud would, like, you know what I'm saying. Bud. The funny thing was, Bud was using, you know what I'm saying, using his left hand as a decoy sometimes to land the right. And then I think Errol Spence was so shocked that Bud fought southpaw the whole fight. He could see everything coming from that southpaw stance. So they didn't do no homework. And Errol Spence, like I said, his best plan, like I said before, breaking down the fight, was for him to try to use brute force and strength and see can he overwhelm Terrence Crawford with his work rate and try to bust him up, break him down. You heard Errol Spence, all he was saying is, I'm going to take away Terrence Crawford's will. Well, how? Terrence Crawford told Errol Spence 4 years ago, he said, try that body shot stuff with me. They had been watching tape of that dude. When I say they would, because I know a dude that's confident versus semi-confident, and like they hoped. Terrence Crawford knew he could beat Errol Spence. He knew he could. Well, listen, when you put the right type of opponents in the ring with a certain style that can suit a certain fighter style, you can make them look good and you can make them look better than what they really is. I keep trying to tell you, had Danny Garcia signed the contract and got in the ring with Terrence Crawford instead of going to Los Angeles to fight Adrian Granados, he got offered $3 million. But Danny Garcia didn't want to fight Terrence Crawford because we all knew what Terrence Crawford would have did to Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia would have got his ass knocked out just like everybody else. And then the thing is, his dad is real weak for that. Was calling the man nappy head and all this kind of stuff, but then they refused to get in the ring. Had every excuse in the book. And Danny Garcia, when he said that weak ass stuff, you got to call Al Heyman. Well, they tried to call Al Heyman. And I'm gonna say this once again, man. I'm not on the you know what I'm saying, I'm not on the sack Bob Arum and Top Rank like that. But I gotta call it how I see it. They was trying to make those fights. They tried to make those crossover fights. And see, here's the thing. Al Heyman at the time, he was in a good position because he had all these networks. So he didn't have to really do business with Top Rank unless it was absolutely necessary. Yeah, they did business, but they wasn't doing big business until it came to Wilder Fury because they was contractually obligated to fight again. And then when they did the second fight, they was contractually obligated to have a third fight. So they had to make those fights. But see, you just got to keep it a buck. Once again, in head-to-head matchups, Top Rank has basically dominated the PBC. But then their apologists, they don't want to say that because they sit up here and they want to talk all this stuff. Like I said, this is real talk. Have y'all ever heard me tell a fighter what promotional company to sign with? I done said that time and time again. That ain't my damn job. As a media person, it ain't my damn job to tell these dudes who to sign with, who they should be with. That ain't my job. I'm just here to cover their fights, cover them, and that's pretty much it. I'm not finna sit up there and say, hey man, they need to go to match room, they need to go to top rank, they need to go to Golden Boy. Now, if they leave Golden Boy, I'll say they left Golden Boy and report possibly why they left Golden Boy or why they left top rank or where they're going, why they going. But that's it. I'm not gonna sit up there and say, hey, this dude need to do that. He need to go here. He need to go there because kind of, to a certain degree, one, this is why you shouldn't do this as a media person. One, you don't want to be on bad terms with these promotional companies. And then two, it questions to a certain degree your journalistic integrity. And then, another thing is they not paying you. I'm not getting paid to tell no fighter what promotional company he go to. Now, if I get put on the payroll, then at the end of the day, that's a different story. Then I work for them. So, of course, I'm going to say, hey, you should go here. But no, I'm not going to sit up here and do it for free like some of these other dudes be doing. And I keep telling you, I don't know why y'all be listening to these dudes just because they have 100,000, 200,000, maybe 300,000 subscribers. Don't mean they know what the hell they talking about. I say this all the time. It makes no sense. Yeah, I was in Philly. Absolutely. Yeah, I've been in Philly a couple of times. Well, Crawford already knew what the play was going to be. They already knew what the play was going to be. They tried to do everything in their power to keep this fight from happening, from basically trying to age Terrence Crawford out to trying to put out smear campaigns against Terrence Crawford, lying about Terrence Crawford refused to sign contracts. When I told y'all last July they wasn't no damn contract. They wasn't no damn contract, and I proved it. So when you heard all these people lying, saying, oh man, Terrence Crawford, he need to sign the contract. Oh, Terrence Crawford, he need to sign the contract and all that stuff. So when you saw all them fanboys, these screaming Jayhawking niggas, you know what I'm saying? And that's why Terrence Crawford ducked Errol Spence when he didn't. All these niggas with that WWE fake stuff on their channels and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's the over-the-counter. I don't know. Real talk. Maybe it's the over-the-counter steroids that these dudes are using. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the problem. But you had dudes that was just flat out lying. And now they look stupid. Now some of them, they feelings is hurt. Now all of a sudden they trying to act like they was rooting for Terrence Crawford all along, trying to act like they was fans of Terrence Crawford when they was sitting up there bashing that dude. Like I said, ask yourself, if you Terrence Crawford and you saw people, and Terrence Crawford spoke on this. He spoke on this a few years ago saying it's sad that people from my own community treat me like this. You don't think Terrence Crawford you don't think Terrence Crawford was bothered by that, seeing black people, his own fucking community attacking him for another dude? Some of these dudes on here was acting real suspect when it came to Terrence Crawford and his whole Errol Spence thing. And that's just real talk. Acting like chicks. I mean, niggas literally getting mad at you because you doing interviews with people from Team Crawford. So, but I will say this about Derrick James. Now, the question is, should Errol Spence move on from Derrick James? I don't know. That's up to Errol Spence. That is up completely to Errol Spence. And that's another thing. That ain't my job to really tell somebody who they should. I'm not really gonna go down that route because I've kind of hinted that before, where I kind of suggested that. But I'm not gonna tell nobody who they should have in their corner as a trainer. Once again, that's not my job. Now, if they happen to go a different direction, or if they leave and decide they're gonna go somewhere else and they happen, align themselves with somebody else, then I may make a suggestion. Me myself, when Ryan Garcia parted ways with his trainer, I thought Ryan Garcia, I said out of my own mouth, I thought Ryan Garcia would be better suited with David Benavides Sr. I thought his style would suit him very well with David Benavides' father. I thought Benavides Sr. would be great for Ryan Garcia. As far as Derrick James go, we gonna have to see. As far as Anthony Joshua go, um, going into this second fight with Dillian White that nobody asked to see. Nobody asked for this fight. I mean, he already knocked out Dillian White. So why is there a rematch? I mean, who asked for this fight? So I mean, you just have to keep it. I mean, for real, you just have to keep it a buck. You just like, okay, for real, like, and Anthony Joshua didn't look that good. Anthony Joshua did not look that good in his last outing. Now, and you also got to remember another fight. Don't y'all remember Marcus Brown and Arthur Beterbiev? You seen what Arthur Beterbiev did to Marcus Brown. You seen that. You seen how that fared for Derrick James. Now, Charlo versus Tony Harrison. I mean, you could make an argument that Tony Harrison shouldn't have won that fight, but then that power jab that Tony Harrison had, I mean, it was just like, I mean, he was really bothering Charlo. And then the second fight, Tony Harrison was doing a lot better until he ended up getting caught. He ended up getting caught, and then that was just the bottom line. So you got to remember that fight. Yeah, but Tony Harrison was winning that second fight. He just ended up getting caught, and then that was pretty much all she wrote. That was pretty much all she wrote, and that was it. Tony Harrison is always Tony Harrison has always had a suspect chin, and Tony Harrison, I'm gonna be honest with you, if Tony Harrison's chin was as good as his boxing skills, Tony Harrison might be undefeated, be undefeated still, because at the end of the day, I forgot who that was that he suffered his first knockout loss to. I could not remember the dude's name. Mike something. Might have been, was it Mike Jones or something? Tony Harrison once again was winning that fight. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Tony Harrison was dominating Jarrett Hurd. He was dominating Jarrett Hurd, and Jarrett Hurd caught him. And then basically he turned the fight around and he got caught. And I think sometimes Tony Harrison stays in there too long. And then I think due to the fact that he gasses a little bit, sometimes throwing a lot of those combination punches. And then I think also it might have been his conditioning sometimes. But from what I heard, Tony Harrison is moving up to the full-fledged 160. I think all of Tony Harrison's losses, I think he's been stopped. I think Tony Harrison has 4 losses, and I think in all of his losses, I think I think he's been stopped in all of his losses. So I'm just saying when everybody was just talking about, how, miles above everybody else Derrick James is supposed to be as a trainer. I was just watching Derrick James. I was like, he teach all his fighters to fight the same way. Derrick James isn't defensively sound as a trainer. He don't teach his fighters defense. Well, not really that good at defense. He don't really he teach them how to block punches, but he really don't teach them how to slip punches and that kind of stuff. Don't teach them good head movement at times because you look at Jamel. Jamel was getting nailed in that first fight versus Castanos. He was getting nailed, and that's why people thought that he lost the first fight. Now he fought a little bit better in the second fight, and he was able to get the stoppage. But he didn't take no severe punishment. Like he got caught quite a bit in the fight, but then he never got dropped. He wasn't, he wasn't like doing a stanky leg like how Errol Spence was staggering bad. And then he was hurt. Errol Spence was visibly hurt in that fight. That first stab, that first stab jab to the body. Errol Spence was hurt. That hurt him right there. Then what did Terrence Crawford do? And then he came with the little short right, and then he dropped. Because actually, what was going on with Terrence Crawford, the punches leading up to the punch that was dropping Errol Spence was doing the most damage. When he hit Errol Spence to the body, Errol Spence was bothered by that body shot. Then Terrence Crawford came with the short left, and then the right, and then it dropped Errol Spence. And people were saying, okay, well he got dropped with a jab. It wasn't just the jab that like did the damage. It was that body shot. Errol Spence was having late reactions to some of those punches that Terrence Crawford was throwing. Like if you seen the second knockdown, Terrence Crawford threw an uppercut. The uppercut froze Errol Spence, and Errol Spence was going down from the uppercut, and Terrence Crawford happened to land that little short right hook. I know people call it a chopping punch, but to me, I call it like how they had an uppercut. I call it the undercut because you going downwards. Like when you throwing an uppercut, you going up, but the punch was going down. They should call it the undercut. But he hit Errol Spence with that. It was just like it was the uppercut, and then the chopping right, and then Errol Spence was going down again. It wasn't even the chopping right. It was that uppercut. If you look closely, because you couldn't see it from the angle that Showtime showed it was like bop. Terrence Crawford went bop. Then Spence froze, late reaction, and Spence was already going down from that punch. Then you seen him get dropped again. He already bleeding. He already leaking. When I saw him, how bad he was hurt after the third knockdown, Derrick James should have said, "You know what? I'm stopping the fight. You taking too much punishment, man. Nah, but keep going out there." He kept sending them out there. Like I said, it took Harvey Dock to save Errol Spence. Errol Spence was on his way to getting taken out in the stretcher. So do I think Derrick James should have threw in the towel? Absolutely. Yeah, he should have threw in the towel. He failed Errol Spence. He failed him as a friend. He failed him as a trainer. Well, I already knew Bud. All he had to do was punch with Errol Spence, and that was going to pay off. I already knew that. Punch with Errol Spence. Get off first. Errol Spence isn't as quick as Terrence Crawford. Like I said before, a lot of y'all got fooled. Y'all drunk the Errol Spence Kool-Aid. I saw it a long time ago, and I'm not saying that Errol Spence is overrated, but I knew that he was going to be a bad, like I said, I knew that he was going to be in for a tough night versus Terrence Crawford. I knew it all along. But I didn't want to say nothing because at the end of the day, I was trying to keep the peace because of my ties to some of the dudes in the LDBC. Because I knew a lot of them were diehard Spence apologists. But then when some of them started acting funny towards me because I was doing interviews with people from Team Crawford and doing interviews with, Coach Red and all them other people, and seeing how goofy some of these dudes was acting, I was just like, you know what, forget it. But the funny thing is, a lot of people mistake my silence for weakness. The biggest mistake a lot of niggas make. Didn't have nothing to do with fear, didn't have nothing to do with weakness. It was just called keeping the peace. But now, I ain't worried about that now. But like I said before, I saw it years ago. Well, it don't matter about it. It don't matter about don't have an agreement not to throw the towel in. At the end of the day, Errol Spence has like 3 children. What's more important, your pride, your ego, or being able to go home to your children, play with your children, talk to your children? It didn't matter. It didn't matter whether Derrick James threw in the towel. He got stopped anyway, so what's the difference? Do it matter whether not to throw in the towel? Why does it matter not to throw in the towel when you know what I'm saying, when you got stopped? He was going to get stopped regardless. So he might as well have saved him a little bit, because y'all have no idea. Each punch can do damage to you. And Errol Spence was getting hit upside his head a lot. It's not about Errol Spence all the time. It's about his children. Yes, he made a lump sum of money for that fight. I can't wait to see what the pay-per-view numbers are. I'm gonna be checking to see what the pay-per-view numbers are, because I think this fight did very well because a lot of people was talking about it. You know, it don't matter. It don't matter whether he should have threw in the towel or not threw in the towel, or they had agreement not to throw in the towel. He got stopped. And Harvey Doc saved Errol Spence from taking some serious damage. Did y'all not look and see how Errol Spence was staggering? Harvey Doc was like, I got to step in, because Terrence Crawford was finna do, when I say Terrence Crawford was finna do a number on him, I'm talking about he was finna knock him out bad. Errol Spence was finna get slumped. So when Terrence Crawford would have slumped Errol Spence, to you Errol Spence apologists, what y'all would have been saying then? Y'all would have been mad at Harvey Doc, right? Saying Harvey Doc should have stopped the fight. So I'm just saying, Derrick James should have threw in the towel. Harvey Doc saved Errol Spence. He saved that dude. I don't want to say he saved that boy, because y'all gonna think I mean it in a disrespectful manner. He saved Errol. He saved Errol from getting slumped. So what y'all would have did when Bud would have landed something that would have had Errol Spence like laid completely out? The man damn near went through the ring. Like I said, the man damn near went through the ring in the 7th round. I mean, damn, when you almost go through the ring in the 7th round, at the end of the 7th round, what's that saying? He had no chance of winning. He had no chance of winning the fight. The fight was out of reach. Well, Michael James, I'm trying to tell you, Errol Spence was finna get slumped. He was finna get slumped. Bud was going over there with bad intentions. Like I said before, what more do you need? What more do these Errol Spence fans need to see? Did they need to see, talked about at least he went out on his shield? What I mean, what does that mean anyway? Dude, you didn't finish the fight. You got beat up. I promise you that next knockdown Errol Spence wasn't getting up from. Errol Spence was gonna leave that ring in a stretcher. Now there's reports coming out that some doctors are requesting that. I don't know about all that stuff. That could be clickbait stuff again. So I'm not even gonna entertain that until I do my own research. He definitely wasn't finna. He definitely wasn't finna get up from that. Well, that's the difference. I mean, like I said, sometimes it hurts a trainer. It hurts a trainer sometimes because they feel like, to a certain degree, a loss for their fighter is a loss for them. But sometimes you got to save your fighter from themselves. So I'm just trying to tell y'all, had Harvey Doc not stepped in, I mean, just watch it. Did y'all see how bad Errol Spence was stumbling and stuff? I saw. Listen, man, I saw that in the Ugas fight when everybody was sitting up. Of course, they came for me when I said, "Man, I don't know about Errol Spence. If Terrence Crawford hit him with some of that stuff, it might be bad for him." And he was hurt against Ugas. And I don't want to hear none of this stuff about weight drain and all this kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to hear none of that stuff. Weight drain, couldn't make weight. Look, you signed the contract to fight at 147, so I don't want to hear that stuff about weight. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear none of that stuff. Derrick James, he did Errol Spence a great disservice by not throwing in the towel. He should have threw in the towel. I mean, going back to the Deontay Wilder, Mark Breland thing, I know Deontay Wilder is to this day he don't care for Mark Breland. He thinks that Mark Breland was in. Oh, and like I said before, I gotta say this to some of these Errol Spence butt boys. I didn't heard everything. And by the way, I heard that some people putting out videos that Derrick James was on the payroll of Team Crawford and that he put something in Errol Spence's water. Like I said, I didn't heard some of the most absurd things ever. You didn't heard every excuse from stacked gloves to loaded gloves to Errol Spence water was spiked. It's just sad. I mean, it's just sad to hear some of the things that I've heard. These people are pathetic. What would Derrick James get out of putting something in Errol Spence's water? Well, can people call in? I don't have that set up yet. That's something I'm looking into in the future. But if you want, you got to leave your email, and then I can send you a link to your email when I go live, and then you could probably do it that way if you want to come. If you want to come on live, or I could do it via StreamYard, but it's a lot of ways. I didn't heard everything. I didn't heard everything. Stack gloves. Derrick James spiked Errol Spence's water. I just did heard everything. Like these past 3 days has just been pathetic and it's been laughable. It's just these people is just all over the place. And I keep telling y'all a rematch ain't gonna be no different. Terrence Crawford has figured Errol Spence out. He knows how to fight him. He knows how to beat him. Have you seen? Did you for real? What did you really see Errol Spence do different than what you've seen him do in other fights? What he tried to add like a looping overhand left. It got to Terrence Crawford once, and Terrence Crawford still was blocking. Terrence Crawford's defense was better than what people think it was. A lot of those shots, Terrence Crawford was slipping them. He was blocking them. As you can see, Terrence Crawford's eye was fine. Terrence Crawford don't even look like he had been in a fight. Terrence Crawford had his best offensive and defensive output versus Terrence Crawford. Statistics say that was Terrence Crawford's easiest fight. So I'm just saying, and I'm gonna put that video up as well. But anyway, in closing, Derrick James, he failed Errol Spence. If Errol Spence wants to move on, that's his decision, not mine, and not really ours. But anyway, appreciate y'all being here. I'm out.